Thank you for staying with Daybreak. Let's talk about all these issues here and hear your views at Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Daybreak. Let's start off with the standard front page. Why Ruto wants CJ Koome out of the 2022 polls team. You can't be a judge of an electoral process you're overseeing. Deputy President allies tell CJ, who sits in a multi-sectoral elections preparedness team, as details of additional 19 billion budgets is revealed. Mweka, I'll start with you on this. Do you also see a conflict of interest here?
Yes, I do, especially in the planning and overseeing of the polls. Because if you are going to be the president of the Supreme Court, in which the presidential election might go to, then you really can't be involved in the same process of overseeing those elections. So I think the overseeing of the elections needs to be left to the IEBC.
Yeah. Honorable Wanga, do you agree with that analogy?
I think UDA are reading too much into something that's really neither here nor there, because the way I've seen this multi-agency team was for everybody involved in the electoral process to come forth and outline what their requirements are. And judiciary is part of the political elections process, because all the petitions, everything, even including the preliminary injunctions, everything is going to go to the judiciary. So their involvement in the process of determining what is required to ensure the electoral process is smooth from the beginning to the end, I think, and that's where you have all these other stakeholders coming, the DPP. Why is it not a problem that the DPP is part of it? Why is it not a problem that Parliament is part of that multi-agency team? And what I see is just everyone who is involved in getting out the money, and everyone who needs the money is part of that multi-agency team. It cannot be said that now that is in the conducting the elections is a pure preserve of the IBC, the Electoral Commission. But if stakeholders come together and say, this is what we might need in order to have a smooth electoral process from the beginning to the end. Because, for example, in the last election, you had a situation where the elections were nullified, and there had to be, a rerun and so on, and the courts have to sit, and they have to sit for, long periods of time and so on and so forth. So I think the UDA shouldn't read too much into this matter. It's stakeholders coming together to say what they need in order to have a smooth election. And I think UDA are reading way too much into it. Nobody is going to the IBC to tell the IBC what to do or how to conduct an election. That's a preserve of the IBC. And I don't think anybody wants to get involved in that. But nobody can be stopped from coming together to say, this is what we need to carry out a free, fair, credible process from beginning to the end.
Okay. Womatangi, is there a conflict of interest here?
Trevor, good morning.
Good morning.
I know we didn't say hi morning, and let me also say good morning to my panelists on the other side. We've not met for a while, Deputy Governor Mweke. Yes, how is life treating you, man?
Good. Good. Thank God. Good to see you, Senator.
All right. Now, Trevor, and then morning, Governor Wanga.
Morning.
I mean, as Trevor popularly refers.
I know. When I come to this show, I become governor. We are hoping for the best.
Trevor has baptized you, and although I didn't see him with water and a Bible to baptize you. Now, Trevor, as I say good morning to our viewers, I think maybe what would have been happy to hear in the first place was is Governor Mweke's side anticipating going to the Supreme Court at this point in time, or does it look likely, from the scenario, such that then it would be such a big issue? I don't know, but maybe it is. It's a question of caution. But that caution, in my view, if you look at it critically, would, even if you looked at it really as though it's a real likelihood, it would cut both ways, in my view, if you had the CJ involved. Because ask yourself, supposing by her being involved in the process, she gets familiarized with really the processes, even if a matter was to land on her desk, as one of the 7 anyway who would be sitting to hear the matters. Because remember, even if a presidential petition was to land in the Supreme Court, it would not be heard or determined by the CJ herself. It's a whole panel of judges who would listen to it. But supposing this would be a good opportunity for her to see all the way. I'm reminding myself, Trevor, that during the determination of the last presidential election petition at the Supreme Court, in their opinion and determination, there's something they came up with that is vital to remember. They said the election is a process, and indeed that was the basis of nullifying the election then. Although the so-called flaws then were not principally involved at the point of determining, but they said it is a process right from where it starts all the way until you get to the end. So supposing in sitting there, the CJ on one hand familiarizes herself with that process such that it would not be anything strange, and if anything was to be seen to be going wrong now, she would have an opportunity to raise it as early as possible, in my view, and not allow it to get into a process, or rather get finally into the process itself. So maybe it would cut both ways, and probably calling for her ceasing to sit in those meetings would be killing a fly with a gun, in my view. There would be better ways. Maybe you would caution and say, would be concerned with this matter, but upon raising the concern, I believe the necessary caution would be taken. And finally, just to echo the point raised, if you look at the players who are involved in this multi-agency panel, they are all important players in the process of elections. And if you are to exclude the CJ, I believe it would not only be discriminatory, but it would make then the whole process incomplete. And remember, and I want to finalize it at that, I think the judiciary is one of the most critical players if then it gets to what the UDA team is alluding to. It would then be the only one arm of government then that you need for that particular determination. So if you say that then you want to come to introduce all these new issues to them, if then you are to go to court, I believe the other way would work in a better way if we found ourselves in court. But Trevor, I hope, against hope, that we don't find ourselves there in these elections. It would be my prayer that when we go to the elections, that we would have a decisive election in the first round, such that, one, it saves Kenyans the costs of going to either a repeat poll, and secondly, so that not only save time but also preserve our democracy. And as the presidential candidates campaign, let Kenyans also participate. I want to just finally echo my concerns, because as you saw, the registration process of the IEBC ended with an anticlimax, because the number of people who registered is a paltry number compared to what the expectations were. I hope this would not translate into the apathy that has been anticipated or that is being talked about. That probably when we go to these elections, the turnout is going to be very... I hope people will come out and we determine once and for all how we want to be led, then get to engage, Trevor, finally in the activities of nation building. It is my concern that we treat the electioneering process as such a lengthy matter that lives with us through the entire 5-year cycle. And I think it's important for us to say that, Trevor, because once we depart from that station and determine whom we want to lead us, we want to get quickly into the activities of nation building, recover from the problems and the hardships we've had after Corona, then we can rebuild the nation.
Governor Mutua, what do you think? Is this giving Governor Mutua, what do you think? Is this giving the CJ a front row seat or unfair advantage at some point?
Thank you, Trevor, and I want to say jumbo to all our viewers and listeners from all over the world. I'm here in Machakos, just not very far from whatever we are here engaged in the devolution conference. I'm actually surprised to see my running mate Wamatangi still in Nairobi. I hope you're coming down for the devolution conference later on today.
Yes, I am.
It would be nice to see you around.
Yes,
And,
I'll be there running mate.
And it is going very well. We had a good day yesterday, and we'll have a busy day today. Actually, today the main guest is Mother Koome, the Chief Justice. And so it will be quite an interesting day. Now, several things. I want to give 3 quick points. Point number 1 is that in this country, we like politicizing and targeting individuals. We tend to be a bit myopic. And all I can say initially is leave Mother Koome alone, leave the Chief Justice alone. Let us be sensible for once. Let us not all the time be crying wolf and engaging in things that really do not make sense. Why do I say this? That's point number 2. It's very clear that, as Governor Wanga has said, the reason that Mother Koome sits in that team, it's a multi-sectoral team. She represents the judiciary. She's not there as herself. She's not just there as the Chief Justice who will be overseeing a court case, if any. She's there to represent the judiciary. And the rules that are being set, the discussions that are being made to ensure free and fair elections are not just for the presidential election. I'm running for presidency. I'm interested. But remember, the rules that are being set are set for the behavior of the MCAs, how IBC will conduct elections for members of National Assembly, for senators, for governors, for women rep, for the presidential candidates. So it's not only for the presidential candidates. Yeah. And it is bad, because for one person to just be complaining about an individual who is there representing the entire judiciary. And it is important for the rules and the regulations to be set in a way that the judiciary understands. Because when the petitions come to them, petitions for MCAs, petitions for governors, for senators, when they come to them, they'll need to understand what were the parameters set. And by the judiciary being represented, it means that whatever is being done will be done according to the law, so there are no quagmires later on, where cases are being thrown out because the judiciary was never involved. So Mother Koome is there as a representative of the judiciary. Let us not panic. The elections are not just about presidential elections. The president's position is important, yes, that's why I'm running for it. But so are the governor's positions, so are the senators' positions, so are members of county assembly positions, so are members of National Assembly. So let's not get so excited about one position by people who are so obsessed about power that they forget that this country is not about an individual one position, it's about all of us. And it is all of us joining hands to build this country that matters. And lastly, let us also remember that even in other systems, if you go to the US, for example, the person who actually oversees and the declaration of elections is actually in the government of the day. You go to states, for example, you find that even when the governor is running, you find that it is the deputy governor, it is the person in charge of, I can't remember the name, Exchequer or something, who is actually the one overseeing the election, who declares that the governor has lost or won. And we remember even in the US when Trump lost, it was the Vice President Pence who had the mandate of agreeing and declaring that Trump lost. Just because you have a position in a certain place does not mean that you will favor. You know, we have to believe that people have integrity and they'll do things the right way. Okay. So this thing of trying to influence things from on the side is people who are already afraid of losing, people who are afraid of the reality. And let's say that Kenya is bigger than one or two individuals. Kenya is for all of us, whether you're running for MCA, governor, senator, and others. So I repeat again, leave Mother Koome alone, leave the judiciary alone, let the system go on very well, because IBC will run the elections. The other team is just preparing and setting the groundwork. Yeah.
Mweke, are you simply afraid of losing? But this could also work to your advantage. I mean, if you lost unfairly and she was there seeing the process, isn't it to your advantage?
You see, Trevor, I think the key word here is preparation. Yeah. The courts usually come in after the election has been done and there's a dispute. And the court comes in as an arbitrator to that dispute to see who's right or who's wrong, so that they can dispense justice. Now, in preparation of the election, it means that you are now part of the electoral process. And if you're part of the electoral process, how then do you come back after the elections and something has gone wrong and say, yes, I was part of the planning process, preparation process, and something went wrong in that preparation. So you're also admitting guilt on your part. So I don't think it's really about winning or losing elections. It's about doing the right thing. Now, where I guess UDA is smelling a rat is we've had 2 elections under this new constitution, under 2 different chief justices. And in those 2 elections, neither former Chief Justice Willie Mutunga or former Chief Justice David Maraga was part of this preparation process. So we're wondering, why now? Yeah, so when you smell a rat, you have to call it out. Lastly, presidential elections go to the Supreme Court, but also all the other elections go all the way from the High Court to the Supreme Court. That is the judicial process that Governor Mutua is speaking about. So when we are talking about Martha Koome, we're not talking about Martha Koome as a person. We're saying, listen, the judiciary comes in as a judge, as an arbitrator, to see who was treated fairly or who was treated unfairly. Another problem that we have seen that's making us blow some whistles as UDA is some of the people in that preparation committee have come out publicly and supported one of the candidates. So, I mean, how do you have your cake and eat it too? Yeah? We've seen some of the people attend public rallies, campaign, and they're not supposed to be campaigning as public officers, and even endorse an interested party in this election. And yet they're the ones who are preparing for the election. So you sit and wonder, are these elections really going to be free and fair? So what we are asking also, just even as Kenyans, is listen, we have an independent commission, that is the IEBC, whose main duty is to ensure that we have free, fair, credible, and verifiable elections. Can we just let them do their work? And everybody else can come in as a support system. But if they come and start planning for an election, when things go wrong after that election, how does the same person called the judiciary come and say, yes, we are part of the election and we made a mistake? So we are saying you're wearing a hat, 2 hats, and it might not be fair for all the contestants in the election.
Okay, Wanda.
I think, and I want to just repeat this, UDA are, I don't know whether, as Governor Mutua said, they are sensing, and Senator Omatangi, they are sensing defeat. And probably their supporters should know that they are sensing defeat, because this is a very, very straightforward matter. You're planning an election. IEBC is the one responsible for conducting that election. In fact, nobody has gone to sit in the IEBC to say we want to be part of conducting the election. But an election is a multi-stakeholder process. It involves, and if you look at the front page of the Standard, Trevor, you will see that the police, for example, have come to that table to say we need 874 million for fueling helicopters and 1.9 billion for meals for our officers while overseeing the election process. The judiciary has come on the table to say we need to recruit staff to handle poll petitions. We need 1.49 billion. We need to strengthen our ICT in case management. We need 1 billion. We need, scrutiny, counting and storage of poll petition exhibits. We need 300 million. Okay, now if you leave the judiciary out of a multi-stakeholder process that's saying, what do we need for the next election? Then you expect to take your petitions, and as Governor Mutua correctly put it, your petitions from MCA level, you expect to take petitions to court to a judiciary that is unprepared. So I don't think they should see this. And I hear DG Mweke saying that this is, about some of the people who are also sitting on that table. Then just go for those people. Don't go for the judiciary as a scapegoat to try and attack other people whom you're not naming, but you feel have taken political sides. Don't drag the CJ into this matter. Just because you feel somebody else on that table, the CJ is not responsible for, but you feel that she is a weak point, you want to create a boogeyman out of her, you want to reduce confidence in the judiciary. And some of these things that UDA is doing, I mean, I'm sure they understand. And this is for when you see you're going to lose, for example, then you start hanging on things. I'm sure they understand just how important it is to have a judiciary that is not just, credible, but is also seen to be credible. So if you muddy the perception about the judiciary, then you want to take this country to war. Because previously, the reason why people, have fought and have not even gone to court is because they felt that court was not a fair arbiter. So if you start to create doubts in the mind of Kenyans, that there's going to be, the judiciary is this or that, over a straightforward matter such as this, then you truly do not have the interest of this country at heart.
All right. Matangi, I want us to move on from this topic and take a look at the Daily Nation front page. Now, they're saying that it's fresh trouble for Ruto at ICC. Indictment. For the first time, Deputy President William Samoei Ruto is named as being involved in coordination of witness interference that corrupted his case at the International Criminal Court at The Hague. The second-in-command risks being charged with corruptible influencing a witness, an offense punishable by 5 years in jail. Do you find the timing of this suspect, Matangi?
Well, before I comment on that, Trevor, let me just make my last point on that debate that we just closed, because I think if there's one culprit who would be very guilty, if you are to judge by proximity and possible interest within involvement of electioneering and preparation, probably it will be Parliament. And the process of electioneering first is scrutinized and involves a lot of activities between Parliament and the IBC. Yeah. And Parliament virtually is a conglomeration of more than 500 interested people in the outcome of the election. Yeah. And so if there were people, I think we would first raise a lot of concern then, Deputy Governor, would be Parliament, because we are all interested and probably would be more likely as Parliament to want to have results that would be favorable or skew the process and the outcome in favor of maybe sitting members. So I think we can raise the matter there. Now, on this other question that you've raised, Trevor, I would agree with you, because I just don't know why it keeps on finding its space at this time. Why? Either way, I think these are matters that should have been settled once and for all, and determine precisely, who is guilty, who is not, and close the matter. One of the problems I've always had with this matter, and I've said this before, Trevor, is that I don't know what we are going to do as a country eventually to have full and final closure on this matter. I still feel that a major gap was left in the entire of this process. So that you find that unlike, and I'll just repeat myself with what I said, unlike the South African scenario, whereby after all the problems they had, unlike the problems in Rwanda after they had the genocide, and they had full closure and a reconciliation process that finally put this behind them with the new understanding and realization that they are a new country and new people and they can move forward, and they have minimized likelihood of this ever occurring again. This is something that did not happen in our country.